He's back! Ladies and gentlemen, it might have been a little later than we anticipated, but I'm promising you, this is going to definitely be worth it because he's got a lot to say. He's got an announcement or two that we're going to get to here very, very quickly. And I'm excited to have him on because really, in a short amount of time, he's become one of my favorites for very, very good reasons. And we're going to get to some more reasons why he's one of my favorites and why some other companies, maybe they too should definitely have him here as one of our favorites. So without further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one level sports show here, pro wrestling star here, Dave How are you? Long time no speak.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back again. Thanks for having me. How do your neighbours react to you with these videos and these introductions?
Well, so I'm going to give you the short answer and the funny answer. So across the street from me is actually my neighbors. They're dead. I live across the street from a cemetery. So certainly they're resting, so they really must be fine with it. My neighbor to my left is almost never home. My neighbor to my right, I don't even know if she exists. And then my other neighbor 2 doors down, they don't exist, period. So I'm fortunate that I have dead people across the street from me and left and right. I don't even know when they're home. So I'm a certainly happy camper right now because I've got the whole block to myself. But most importantly, I've got the man of the hour. That is Portsmouth's own Disciple. And obviously a lot to get into here. You know, Disciple, we've spoke a lot about you, obviously, over the past couple of weeks in different streams. I know you've heard from different back channels and through the grapevine because I've been pushing Disciple. I have been saying for different companies, where is Disciple? Why isn't Disciple here? Why isn't Disciple there? And apparently now, I've been given word from GT Ministries management on very high authority that they have allowed us here on Sportzwire. And first of all, I want to thank GT Ministries because GT Ministries has been allowing us to obviously share coverage of their upcoming event, July the 16th at the Fountains Church in Bradford, which is just 2 short weeks away. And we have a lot of coverage, wall-to-wall coverage, pretty much between now and the 16th on Sportswire Radio when it comes to the GT Ministries event. And most importantly, Disciple, I have news regarding you, my friend, that apparently, I guess you might want to say, our prayers have been answered because, first of all, you've been apparently a member now, a participant of the 30-person Rumble. So before I get to the catch, let's get your reactions to the fact, finally, a wrestling company has heard the wishes loud and clear, the chants, the yells, the war cries, whatever you want to call it, that Disciple is finally back. GT Ministries, July the 16th, 30-person Rumble. There's a catch, but let's get to the news first that you are a part of the Rumble.
Listen, Tom, I think we made it loud and clear of the intentions that we had, that Disciple had to go into that ring and to be involved in the Rumble. As I told you last time when I came on the show, I am a veteran when it comes to Rumbles. I became the first ever king of Roncorn Wrestling. I've been in Rumbles and I've eliminated Doug Williams from Rumbles. Rumbles are my thing. So July 16th, when I'm in GT Ministries in Bradford, I am so looking forward to throwing 29 other participants over the top rope and becoming that number one contender.
I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen here, and let me get to some comments because our very dear friend, do I call him Lord Damian Stone? Do I call him John Rowlandson at this point? I mean, he's obviously a huge part of things at CCW, and he travels all over the UK scene and watches, obviously, professionally wrestling shows here. And, of course, he is a huge part of things here in Sportswire Radio. We will have him back later this month in July. He says, I've been asking that myself into where is Disciple? And he says now to the reaction of you being a part of GT Ministries and the 30-person Rumble. There's a catch, but we'll get to the news here first. But he says here, oh, the landscape of that Rumble has now changed drastically. And we'll get to the catch in a second. But let's map it out here because I think about you, right? I think about your experience, all the big names we spoke about last time we were on the show. I think about the titles you've won, all the things that you've done. I mean, you automatically have to be at the top in terms of who could win this. I mean, legitimately speaking, I would have to think this is a no-brainer. And the fact that automatically when we think about this Rumble, I mean, I would think it's between you and Gareth Angel and who's a favorite right now.
Well, it took a long time, but we finally got there in the end. I think.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
I think when you shout loud enough, you are finally heard, and obviously that was the case. I think we definitely made sound waves within, what we wanted
My voice
to
is
get
still
out of it.
feeling those sound waves, by the way. I can tell you, I'm on like a second can of ginger ale, so just trust me on that.
Do you know what? I cannot wait to get in that ring. Like I said, I've been in the ring with some of the greats, Doug Williams. I've been in the ring with Johnny Storm, Ricky Knight Jr., James Mason. I've wrestled a lot of top guys in British wrestling. Unfortunately, back in September last year, I was a participant in a triple threat match for the GTM Championship. I had to pull out because of an injury. So this is my chance now. I guarantee you, and you've heard it here first on Sportzwire Radio. I guarantee you that within the next year, I will be GT Ministries heavyweight champion.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, boy, I can't wait to get to the second caveat of this announcement. But certainly, apparently, GT Ministries management has chimed in. They've heard the war cries, and they say here, welcome to the Rumble. Your prestige and experience will certainly make things extremely interesting. And I think that's also an excellent point because, I'm sure you've heard about some of the other people that have been announced here on Sportswire Radio. Certainly Connor Cage, Supersonic Sammy Blue, and we've gone back and forth with the lawman Kyle Kennedy, whether he's in, he's out, obviously Champ Rogers. But we love those guys. They're all great individuals, but there is a point to be made that when I think about Rumbles, any type of Rumble, I automatically look for two things here, Disciple. I look for size. I look for experience. I was going to say strength, but you have both. We'll throw them about the same thing. So I really think about it here. When it comes to this Rumble, who has more experience than you? Frankly, you even have more experience than Gareth Angel in Rumbles. And also in terms of what you've done in your career. So automatically, again, there's big names that are coming on to Sportswire Radio again. Obviously, Slugger Hampton's coming on and all the different people that are coming back who are going to be in. But when I think about right now, what you need to win a Rumble, number one, size. You got that. And number two, the experience. Who's got more than you when it comes to those things? And I think this is why, legitimately, you're a favorite. And give me your thoughts.
Well, appreciate the kind words, son. But yeah, absolutely. There's no beating around the bush. There's no point in lying. I've got the experience. I've got the tenure in wrestling. And like I say, when it comes to Rumbles, it's second nature to me. And especially when you're in a Rumble match, you've got to have that. You've got to be ring savvy. You've got to know what's going on, and you've got to have that experience to know how to handle a Rumble and know who to eliminate. Look at the weak spots. Look when to eliminate people, and who to partner up with. And it's that's an experience thing. So it's great that all the numbers that have been, all the people that have been announced so far for the Rumble, but what they lack, I've got an experience. So for me, it's about picking and choosing who I'm going to take out first, and looking at their weak spots.
Let me ask you a question, and I'll get to the second caveat here for the announcement in a few seconds. And Damian Stone has a comment. I'll get to that in a second, but it was well documented that you were going to be in a triple threat match last year for the GT Ministries World Championship. And I know, obviously, we spoke about that last time you were on the show, and obviously there was some unforeseen circumstances when it came to that, obviously with an injury. And does that something going into this on the 16th of July where you feel like, that's on your mind, unfinished business? Because listen, I mean, you could have ended Gareth Angel's reign as champion far earlier than it was ended by Jack Johnson. I mean, you never got that shot. You never got that chance to be in that championship match. Look at what you did with Bentley. Bentley, look at the run that he was on after the match that you had with him. He's main evented a couple different times. Obviously, we've seen him here, what he's become with GT Ministries, BTW, all these different places. But I kind of feel like there has to be something that's weighing on your mind of almost unfinished business here as to why this is important that you're in this Rumble coming up here the 16th at the Fountains Church in Bradford.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's 9 months ago now, so it's something that played on my mind for a very long time. That triple threat match, I think, pretty much had my name all over it to win the championship. And unfortunately we get these setbacks, but it's the comeback that is remembered more than the setback. So, a long 9 months to think about it, and I just need that chance to show that what I can do, and the Rumble is a perfect opportunity. And like I say, I've made the statement. I'll put it on record that within the next year, I'm definitely going to be GTM heavyweight champion.
I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not arguing with him at all because I agree 100,000%. Not even 100, 110%, 100,000%. This is why you need to follow him on Instagram at Disciple Wrestler. And also, listen, he's available for bookings again. He's back. You can follow him. Listen, he's on Facebook, Disciple Wrestling. Also on Twitter at BTP_disciple. And I'm telling you, he's got a new background. He's got new shirts on the way. I can't wait to wear it. I got a Tommy Dillon shirt on, but when Disciple shirt comes out, listen, we love Tommy Dillon, but this is going off. We're putting that Disciple shirt on, and I am very, very excited about that. In fact, good news for you that Damian Stone said he was thinking about going to a music festival, but apparently after he heard that you're going to be in this Rumble at the Fountains Church, July the 16th, he might be going to Bradford. I mean, so certainly that could very well be the case. And I've got the man that everybody always speaks of here on Sportswire Radio with us right now live, and that is Mr. Gareth Angel. I know you know Mr. Angel very well, and I know it's going to be a little different than some of these, how can I put this in a nice way, kind of new kids on the block, if you might want to call it, right, from NSAW, right? They're new kids on the block. Maybe pun intended, no pun intended. But when Gareth Angel speaks to you, it's almost like, how can I put it? It's almost like mano a mano. You feel it's real, in other words. But Mr. Angel here, he's got something to say. I'm a man of my word. If I win, if I take the championship back, you'll be the first to get a shot. But this Rumble and Jack Johnson belong to me. I'll see you on July 16th, brother. I feel like that Mr. Angel, when he's speaking with you, I feel like, though, that he knows that it's like man to man, almost like how we're speaking right now. Like I said, the new kids on the block, maybe not so much. But here, I'm letting you respond for you to decide.
Listen, I think that's a clash that is long since been waiting to happen. Angel versus Disciple, heaven versus hell, good versus bad. It's going to happen down the line. One way or another, we know it's going to happen. And if it's going to be for the GT Ministries Heavyweight Championship, even better.
I'll tell you what. And we're going to get to the caveat here for this announcement, which is going to make it really, really interesting here in a second. And I have another comment in here from Cone. I hope I'm repeating it right, but I'll leave that. He says, do you know what BWR is? Yes. If we're talking about BWR, the wrestling company, yes, I do. If we're talking about BWR and we're talking about that company, we've had friends of the show that have wrestled in BWR, like 2-Bit and obviously Scotty Rock. So if you're really asking me a wrestling question, yes, I do know what BWR is. So obviously we're not friends on Facebook. So though I don't know what the issue is here, but I'll leave that at bay. But would you like me to get to the second part of the announcement? Because I feel like you might really, really be curious about it. Because I almost feel like when I think about wrestling, kind of more or less, how can I put this? Stipulations. This is one of the more interesting ones I've seen here in quite a while. So obviously,
okay.
This is interesting. I don't know how to take this one here, Disciple. So let's go to it here. So you are actually still in the Rumble. Don't you worry, my friend. You are still in the Rumble. But apparently, you are going to be, before the match, in a fatal four-way match where the winner gets the number 30 spot in the GT Ministries Rumble upcoming July the 16th at the Fountains Church. But the loser here is given the number 1 spot. So your other 3 participants that you might actually be in the ring with, and I'm sure you're going to be familiar with all of them here in some capacity, is The BTW champion, Rarebit, who we've seen in the ring quite a bit, obviously most recently with Bentley, who you've been in the ring with in GT Ministries for the main event. Sean Only, who also was most recently in the ring with Bentley at the last GT Ministries show. And the Metal God, Alex Borland. So, I mean, this is I don't know how to take this. I don't know if this is a good thing, a bad thing. I mean, walk me through your reactions here, Disciple, to the fact that you are back. You are going to be in the Rumble. While if you do get the win, you are number 30 in this. But if you lose, if you're the guy that loses, you get that number 1 spot. I mean, what do you think here?
Wow, what an interesting announcement that is.
Certainly, I haven't had one like this before. 3.5 years I'm doing this. I don't know how to take this. Is this good? Is this bad? Is this a joke? I don't know where to take it.
I mean, to put 4 top tier competitors in a match before a big rumble like that with those kind of stipulations, it's a very bold move.
It's controversial in my mind. Controversial.
Very, very. But that being said, I just going to want to go back a little bit from when I said I was the first ever king of Runcorn wrestling.
Absolutely.
Now, I entered that rumble second, and I won that rumble. I lasted 29 other men in that rumble, and I was in there for 56 minutes. Now, I don't care if I get first, I don't care if I get 30th, and I don't care if I get 15th, 29th, 27th, whatever it might be. The fact is that I'm in the rumble, and I can last the rest of them. I've done it before, and I'll certainly do it again.
Fair enough here, and I'm going to get to a number of those different things here. And obviously, Damian Stone says high stakes indeed. Yeah, this is some of the more higher stakes I've ever seen in a stipulation. And of course, I have to show up in here somebody that we definitely know here, and that is JPR. He says here, Disciple is the fill-in-the-blanks man. We're a family station on Sportswire, so I can't repeat the last part, but we can show the image. But actually, I'll have an announcement over the weekend when it comes to JPR, because JPR apparently might be coming to Sportswire Radio, but that's for a different time here. But let me ask you this question here, and I want to go back to GT Ministries for a second, because I find this so intriguing. I mean, do you feel like between yourself, regardless of what you think about Rarebit, Sean Only, and the Metal God Alex Borland, the 4 of you guys legitimately in this Rumble, I think it's fair to say you guys would be the top contenders, 4 of the top contenders, right? Do you feel like in some ways, is this a plan maybe by management maybe to take out one of yous or a few of yous? Because the way I see this here, this is a huge gamble. I mean, one of the 4 of yous could be number 30. Yes. But one of yous could also be number 1. So a part of me says, is this maybe a plan to take out one or a few of you guys here? Walk me through your thoughts on that.
Potentially, I mean, it's like I say, it's a very dangerous game plan if it's going to be implemented. I think it is more mind games than anything, because listen, when you're in that kind of match and you know that the stakes are high, whether you're going to be first or 30, if it's it does play in your mind quite a lot, and you have to have a whole new game plan as to how you approach the match, and ultimately depends on the winner as how you approach the Rumble. So I think there's game plan and mind games sort of come to mind. Definitely.
Don't tell us the plan, though. Whatever you do, don't tell us the game plan here, Disciple, because you know that Rarebit is going to hear this. You know the Metal God Alex Borland is going to hear this, and you know that Sean Only is going to hear this. So whatever you do, don't tell us the strategy, because I always tell wrestlers before a match here, regardless of who it is, I always tell them, don't tell me the strategy, because trust me, the word travels, because I get messages left and right from people that say, oh, I heard you say this. Oh, I heard you say that. So don't tell us the strategy. But what I'm going to continue to say is I'm perplexed at this scenario. I'm perplexed here. I mean, would you be concerned, though, let's say hypothetically, in terms of, I don't know, endurance? Because a Rumble, you could be in there. Now, if you're 30, obviously this is great. I mean, this is great. Well, let's say you don't lose even. Let's say you don't get the pin, but who knows where they put you. And you're going to have a match. This could be a 10, 15-minute match. And this is going to be regardless a bruising match, because you got 3 participants that are extremely dangerous, extremely potent participants. This is not like when we speak about Connor Cage. This is not like when we speak about Supersonic Sammy Blue. No disrespect to them, but they're new kids on the block. You're going in the ring with not new kids on the block. You're going up in the ring with, how can I put it, like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. You're really going hardcore. I mean, that's the way I could best put it. So, I mean, is that a concern in terms of just your overall intensity, your endurance could be zapped here? Because regardless of how this shakes out, I mean, you're going to be in an intensive match here.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's going to be intense. Listen, look at the competitors in the match. You know, I've gone against Sean Only before. I'm aware of Rarebit, and Alex Bolin. I've seen a lot of great things from him. So it's going to be a very tough, a very intense match. And like I say, I've been in Rumbles for a long time before, and it's just about the game plan that you have going in. And I think certainly with that announcement now, my game plan is going to be certainly different from what I had planned in the first place. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see, and I think it will make the Rumble very open. If I'm honest, I mean, you look at some of the competitors you got in there. It's a great Rumble to be in, and GT Ministries are pulling it out of the bag at the minute with the announcements that they're making, with the talent that they're putting in the Rumble. So it'll be great for everybody. However, I'm just going to go back to my experience again. I think I've got this in the bag.
I'm very confident. Listen, at the end of the day, Disciples in this Rumble, I am very, very confident he has a very good chance at winning this here. Because look at the size of this man. Look at his intensity. Look at his game face. This guy's on another level right now. And listen, he's back. I mean, listen, people were wondering, where's Disciple? What's going on with him? Not so fast, my friend. Not anymore. Because he's back, he's bigger, he's better, and most importantly, he's better than ever. And I want to ask you this question, and I'll go to Nonstop Action Wrestling here in a few minutes, but I want to stay with GT Ministries for a second, because we're going to be speaking a lot about GT Ministries here between now and the 16th, and you are back in action finally after everything. I guess you could say the prayers have been answered. I don't know how to take the announcement, but you're back. But how does this Rumble would compare to maybe some other Rumbles that you've been in and won?
I think this would be that there's a lot of people in there that I've not seen much of. So I suppose the uncertainty of how people are going to react, because listen, it's not something that happens week in, week out. You don't do a Rumble all the time, so it changes people. It changes people's mindsets and how they approach. It's different from doing a one-on-one or a tag match to a Rumble. You've got to have a whole different mentality about it. So it'll be interesting to see how people react. And, NSAW guys that are in it, it's great that they're being involved. So it'll be interesting to see how they react and how they adapt into that kind of match.
See, I think you would still, at the end of the day, have the advantage here, because obviously getting to know a lot of these NSAW guys, maybe with the exception, I guess, of a wild card Tommy Dillon, that a lot of those wrestlers, their experience compared to yours, you can't compare. It's like night and day almost.
Absolutely not.
So I would feel like the NSAW end of it, leave aside anybody from UKW or GT Ministries, kind of more based off, or even crossovers with Bolton Town, I would feel like, in a sense, that's where you're going to shine, because those guys, they're not going to know what to do. Now, the CCW guys, we're going to have Slugger Hampton. He's experienced. Obviously, he's on a big run. I think he'd be somebody that has experience. But at the end of the day, I don't really think anybody squares off with you in that sense. And I also wanted to bring up, because obviously we know that Bentley is going to be a part of this also. And I feel like that there's a lot of unfinished business still. And I would not be doing my job if I didn't bring up the fact that, do you feel like also from your vantage point, we spoke about Mr. Angel and we talked about the unforeseen circumstances there, but that was the last time we saw you in GT Ministries. That was a main event. That was a main event that a lot of people have seen that match since. A lot of people were there at the Fountains Church. I mean, do you feel like if you and Bentley cross paths, that very well could be unfinished business and also possibly be the final 2 or 3 participants to decide who gets that crack at Jack Johnson's championship.
You're absolutely down right. There is unfinished business there with Bentley. Listen, that was his first main event match, and as you quite rightly said, since he won that match, he's been on a fantastic run. I can't wait, and I really, really, really hope to God that I'm going to be in the ring with him. I hope that I see him. I hope that I'm going to smack that silly little smirk off his face, and I cannot wait to see him in there because there is unfinished business. And hey, let me put it like this way: if he goes on to win the Rumble and becomes the number 1 contender and fights Jack Johnson, becomes a champion, listen, I am coming for Bentley. I ain't going to stop until I am that champion.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, something tells me here he ain't just going to have one world championship. He's going to have multiple. These are reasons why, again, if you're on Facebook right now, go to Disciple Wrestling. If you are on Instagram, go to Disciple Wrestler. BTR_Disciple on Twitter. Find him. I'm telling you, this guy is back. He's bigger. He's better. He's better. He's tougher. You fill in all the blanks. He's going to be better than when we saw him a few years back when he was facing off with the likes of Ricky Knight Jr. and a Johnny Storm and everybody else, the Ronin, Brian Adenson, the Playboy Prince, Lance Rivera. You name the names, the big boys that have come onto Sportswire Radio. This man has defeated them. But I'm telling you right now, he's on a whole nother level. That's why you have to follow him. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. In about, I'd say, 25 minutes or so to a half hour, we will be joined by world champion boxer Paul Pierce, also from Portsmouth. And listen, I got to say it, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Portsmouth's own Disciple, Paul Pierce, is fighting in Portsmouth. We got to get Disciple, Cestus events, because these are my friends. Trevor Lakey, everybody there, Arv Mitu, Arv the Fox Mitu, everybody at Cestus events, whether it's Sean, whether it's everybody else, Steve Trendle, get this man Disciple. If he's not doing anything, July 23rd, I'm going to post this on Instagram and Twitter, July the 23rd. Make sure this man's in the building. We have a huge card coming up here that Cestus Events is coming out and promoting. Let this man be there. Let's sell some more tickets. Let's get this man in the house. I'm telling you, Mr. Lakey, I know you're a businessman like I am. I know you love a fight. I know you love attractions. I'm telling you, Disciple, he's from Portsmouth. Everybody loves Disciple in Sportsmouth, even if they won't admit it. I'm telling you, you definitely want him there. I know we're also working on some tickets. I know we're working on a whole number of things. A new fight announced here for Homecoming, a lot of different things. But get this man here. I'm telling you, this is also going to be on Power Pay-Per-View here in the UK, so I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we are with pro wrestling star here, Disciple, as we broke the news here a little while ago on Sportswire Radio that he will now be a part of the GT Ministries 30-person Rumble to crown the number 1 contender to Jack Johnson's championship. But also there's a caveat. Disciple will be in the ring before that in a fatal 4-way match where the winner gets to become the number 30 participant, or the loser becomes the number 1 participant, and those participants are Rarebit, the BTW champion, who we last saw in the ring against Bentley, defeated him in kind of a dicey fashion there. Also, the Metal God, Alex Boyle, and also Sean Only. So this is, I mean, forget it. You know what? This could be a main event on it. So I would put a whole lot of pounds here to see a match like that. And they're going to have that here in addition to the 30-person Rumble here. And also, we're going to see Gareth Angel in action against Goliath even before that. So Mr. Angel's doing double duty. Disciple's doing double duty. I can't wait for all of this here on Sportswire Radio. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. But, you know, Disciple, I'm happy in a sense that GT Ministries did hear the war cries. They did hear the screams. They did hear the chants. They did hear the social media clips. But I must add that I've covered a lot of nonstop action wrestling recently, as I'm sure you've heard through back channels, right? But I'm wondering here, though, and I've had the lawman Kyle Kennedy on a couple times. He's coming back on yet again next week. I have all these different people. In fact, we're going to break it here. LRB is coming on this Sunday night. I'm going to have LRB going to get his side of the story on things. Obviously, his tag team with the wild card Tommy Dillon. Joshua Snow's been on our streams. I'm going to have on Jenny Hayes, all these different people, right? But I still haven't heard of the fact that Disciple is still not a participant in the Fire and Gold world-class tournament to crown our first champion August the 13th. Disciple, I got to ask, what's up with that?
What is up with that exactly? I don't know what's going on with NSAW management. I mean, come on, look. They've announced one person already. It's an 8-man tournament. You want to big this up. This is a big thing. This is for the first ever world-class champion. You want to make a spectacle of this. You want to put your best people in there. And so far, you've announced one person. One person? Come on, guys.
Why do you think that is? I mean, here's what I don't understand. Now, when the lawman Kyle Kennedy, and I kind of like the lawman Kyle Kennedy in some way. He seems to like us here on Sportswire, and I try to be objective, right? He's been on here. He's pleaded his case, right? And I get it. But he's 5-0. Now, 5-0 is different from being in the ring about 500 to 5,000 times that you've been in the ring with. I think about you, and you're on a level in terms of veteranship, like a Wildfire Nate Reese, who I know, Reynaldo in the LWF, and certainly even a Tommy Dillon. We can go on, right? But if I'm a promoter, right, and I'm a businessman, and I'm looking to sell tickets, and I'm looking to legitimize my company as transitioning from an up-and-coming company, why wouldn't I have announced Disciple already?
Great question. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I don't get it. It's all well and good. Kyle Kennedy come out here saying that he's 5-0, this, that, and the other. But has he travelled all around the country wrestling some of the top names? Absolutely not.
Has he acted in big-time movies?
Definitely not. He's not wrestled with different people, different styles, different personalities. He's not been a heavyweight champion, and I know that will come in time. But listen, when you've got a big event like this coming up, you've got a big show. It's a big deal. You've announced one person, that person being Conor Cage. I mean, if you're going to announce...
JPR disposed of, by the way. JPR was with the Summertime Slaughterhouse. JPR did get the win.
Absolutely. And it's all well and good having heart and desire and whatever it might be, but you want someone to represent your brand, your company, who you are. You want someone with experience because, listen, if Conor Cage miraculously went through to the final and won that championship, he'll lose it straight away. There's no way, and I'm sorry, Tom, but there's no way that you can put him in a ring with me and then he becomes a winner. Absolutely not. Not a chance in hell. No way would it ever happen.
This is what I don't understand, though, because, again, and I see this and I say this all the time. I mean, if I'm a promoter and I'm a businessman, I think about how am I going to go and transition my company, right? Vince McMahon, right? When he took over WWF and made it WWF, right? He needed a guy that helped his company transition to what it was today. He got Hulk Hogan, right? We think about AEW. AEW had Chris Jericho at the very beginning, right? That's what helped their company. We think about companies that have success. You need that attraction. You need that star to be able to help you attract new followers. So we could be on the level of a GT Ministries. So we could be on the level of an Odyssey Pro Wrestling who has Ryan Hunter and Morecambe, and obviously he's legendary, or Reynaldo and Chorley, or obviously Gareth Angel in the past. We need that person. And to me, that person right now is the guy I'm looking at right now that can transition our company, Nonstop Action Wrestling, into the next decade to be where we need to be. To not only be a great independent company here in the UK, but maybe even beyond. I mean, so I would think that you would be the guy to lead this company.
Absolutely. And you've just said it there. You want a star to promote your business. And, again, on paper, you put it down, Conor Cage, Disciple, you put us in a picture next to each other, Conor Cage and Disciple. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't
don't
fit.
Sell tickets.
It doesn't. And listen, at the end of the day, when it comes to management, they know that Their job is to promote and to promote and promote. Get bums on seats. That's the way that it works. And for that, you need top class people. You need stars to sell your tickets to buy your business. Is Conor Cage that guy? Absolutely not. Now I don't know who else is in that tournament. I don't know what their
We don't
criteria.
know, but that's the other interesting thing.
No
We
one
do
knows.
not know. We have no idea. I mean, today, if I'm not mistaken, is June the 30th, right? So August the 13th, that would do my math. And again, I'm not good at anything, right? 45 days. So we got 6.5 weeks, right? So I would think that sooner rather than later, you have to announce who's in this tournament. I mean, and Lord Damian Stone says that's one that NSAW needs to rectify, and quickly. You need Disciple in there. Is it Fire and Gold or Smoke and Pirates? I mean, think about it, right? CCW, you think that James Barris would make the same mistake? They had 9 consecutive shows that have been sold out. They're drawing hundreds of people to their shows. Despite what some may say or some may not say, James Barris is a businessman. He sells hundreds of tickets for his shows, right? Gareth Angel has been on the BBC, right? We work with Odyssey Pro Wrestling in Morecambe. They draw 250 fans and up. They know when it comes to business, you make the announcements and you rectify that situation. So, I mean, is it Fire and Gold or is it Smoke and Pirates?
Who knows what it is? Listen, and again, when it comes to it, it's all about promoting and pushing your business. GT Ministries, I worked a show with them in Leeds where we had over 400 people in attendance. And that was purely from the matches that were announced. They knew that they only booked stars on that show, and that's how it is. Unfortunately, NSA management need to get up with the times and bring up to the times because, listen, if you're not making any announcements, it's not going to sell, unfortunately.
Do you think that, I don't even know how I should phrase this question, but I'll try my best to figure this out here. Do you feel like in some senses that maybe NSAW, and I'll get to it, apparently somebody has heard the charges loud and clear, that is Mr. Joshua Snow, but before I get to Mr. Snow, yeah, it's typical, right? Do you think that maybe in some way there is some in management that are dragging their feet here and there's a, how can I put this? Maybe a clash between different sides in management on who they want or who they may not want? You think that's a possibility?
Make no mistake about it. There's definitely favourites in there. If there wasn't, Conor Cage wouldn't be picked. Listen, as I said before, we don't know what the criteria is. We don't know who they're picking. They could just be picking their friends for all we know and just say that it's because of their heart, their determination, or whatever, some stupid excuse that they're going to throw out. It's not good enough.
No, I tell you what, it's certainly fair, and I have a few comments. I'll get to those, but let me get to Mr. Joshua Snow, of course, because Mr. Snow, who we expect to be back with us with the aforementioned Conor Cage and the lawman Kyle Kenny for that contract signing, but he says, oh, don't worry. The rest of the announcements will be coming along very, very soon, and do not rule anyone out of this tournament just yet, yourself included, Disciple. Your reaction to that?
I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. You can't just come up with this now. Now that I've called you out, I've called the management of NSAW out. You can't just make this comment now. This should have been set in stone ages ago. More names should have been announced ages ago. Disciple's name should have been announced ages ago.
I agree with you. Listen, I mean, we spoke, I think the first time was 2 weeks ago. And we're going to speak again right before the 16th at the Fountains Church. I mean, we're going to have you on again before Fountains Church. And, I mean, I just don't get it. I have a good question here. And who are your 8, including Conor Cage, that you would want to see in the tournament? That's kind of putting you on the spot, though. But, I mean, if you were to pick, obviously, I would assume you can pick yourself, if that would be the case. Obviously, pick yourself. I mean, duh. But, I mean, for 8 people, who would you want to see in this tournament if you had a choice?
If I had a choice, Supersonic Sammy Blue. I've done a couple of training sessions up at NSAW, and one of the standouts for me was Supersonic Sammy Blue. Great guy, great talent, listens, asks questions, which is something that's really, really important when you're training. Supersonic Sammy Blue would definitely be one of the participants. An old foe of mine, Tommy Dillon. We have got some unfinished business down the line. I'd definitely like to see him in the tournament, and a good final, I believe, would be Disciple versus Tommy Dillon. Um, who else would I like to see in there? Kyle Kennedy's got a lot to say, so I'd like him to prove himself to see if he's really got what it takes to be in that tournament. Young Horace again got a lot to say. It'd be interesting to see how he would fare in that tournament. Obviously, Conor Cage has already been announced, so he's probably not going to last 10 minutes of the first match.
Well, Kyle Kennedy very well may take his spot. We're having a contract signing here next week, so Conor
absolutely.
Cage, do we count him? I mean, because he may not be in the tournament much longer.
I don't know. We'll see. I know my money's on. Definitely. Let's just put it that way. JPR again is another guy that I've seen quite a bit of.
JPR, absolutely.
Yeah, I think he'd be a very, very good shout in that tournament. Gareth Angel again, a good one to bring over.
Ooh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting, Mr. Angel.
Yeah, I think his style would fit in well with NSAW, and I think again, there's a lot of personalities in NSAW like to open their mouths a bit, so I think it would be a good test for Gareth Angel to be involved in that one.
Wow, a bombshell here on Sportswire Radio. Before we get to Joshua Snow, I didn't even think of Gareth Angel. Gareth Angel at NSAW. I mean, you want to talk about the Forbidden Door being open. You want to talk about different things, different folks, for different boats, for different people. I mean, Gareth Angel in NSAW, that 8-person world-class tournament, with the mood he's in right now. And we could even see Disciple and Gareth Angel, NSAW, for the world-class title. We could see him at the Fountains Church on the 16th of July, and we could see him at the 13th of August. Hell, you know what? At this point, we could see Gareth Angel and Disciple all over the UK. We could see him all over the world. These two in a ring, I mean, that would be, you could have months and months and months worth of matches. Listen, we'll put the money up. We'll make it happen. Because listen, and I continue to say it here, and we continue, before I get to Mr. Snow, we continue to say it here on Sportswire Radio. It is our understanding that Powered 4 TV, apparently, the proprietor and those behind it, they want to go on a sabbatical. I continue to ask them, we want Powered 4 TV on Sportswire Radio. When Vince McMahon brought WCW and he brought it back, quote unquote, I want to bring back Powered 4 TV. I don't know what it takes for Powered 4 TV, but I think I'm going to now have to tag them tomorrow on social media with this, because I think I've been being a nice guy. I think I've been waiting, but I think that I could put on Powered 4 TV match after match of Disciple and Gareth Angel, company after company. So we can definitely start that conversation. And now the locker room of NSAW is worked up, because when we mention that question, all of a sudden the floodgates have opened. So let's go with it first, because Paul Pierce is going to have to wait now a few minutes. Well, I've done, and I will continue to do so. Just as many others are trying to make their case into being part of the tournament like yourself, you are no different in that regard, Disciple. Quick reaction to that before I get to some others in the locker room.
What else do you want me to say? Listen, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. You want a champion. You want a fighting champion. You want a decent champion. You go with someone with star power. You know that will represent and push the brand to the next level, and that's Disciple.
I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, strong words here. Disciple Wrestler, also on Instagram. Disciple Wrestling on Facebook. BTR_Disciple. Follow this man. Also got new background, new images. Shirts are on the way. That's a cheap plug for him. But young Horace has responded, who, of course, was in this chair you're in last week. And very, very interesting guy young Horace was. So young Horace says, multi-match, one-night tournament. Sounds like I'd be too much of a threat. Boy, young Horace here. Well, that's what Disciple thinks. He's basically not too impressed then, huh?
I mean, Listen, he's very new to the business. He's still a little wet behind the ears, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
When I was that new in the business, I had that kind of confidence as well. Until I got pushed around a bit, until I earned my stripes, as it were. I'd keep your mouth shut, son.
I tell you what, I hear that all the time from wrestlers. We have Wildfire Nate Reese with us every Friday. He talks about that all the time. And certainly, we had Reynaldo on. I know you know Reynaldo, and Reynaldo would talk about that all the time. So certainly, that is something I hear. And I guess we could say this individual was with us last night on Sportswire Radio, and he kind of gives you a fair play. He says, Disciple, the man who beat Rex Savage, by the way, Summertime Slaughterhouse, that was. First time they were in the ring in many, many years. And he says, fair play to you for that one. And I tell you what, another reason why you should have been already announced, because you disposed of an old foe. And on top of that, were very impressive in that fashion. So I would have thought automatically, with the win that you had, very well possibly been maybe the most impressive win on that card at Summertime Slaughterhouse. I would have thought already by now, let's go with Disciple, right?
Absolutely. I mean, look, you look back at the results, you look at the performances of wrestlers, and you look at the kind of run that they're on. You know, that match against Rex Savage, it was a street fight match. Rex brought as much as he could, but at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I was a better man.
I tell you what, and very well, he will be the better man. As Pearl Jam would famously sing, I'm the better man here. No, he, Disciple, would be the better man here. If he'll be in that Fire and Gold tournament on August the 13th. For whatever reason, that better man song all of a sudden just popped up in my head because, well, Disciple would be the better man should he be in this tournament. And it is definitely, again, maybe it is an injustice still. Because if GT Ministries announced, I still don't get it. NSAW, what are we waiting for? I mean, I would hope that on Sportswire Radio, we can get some answers here because LRB is coming on Sunday. We know Jenny Hayes is coming on. We know we're having a contract signing next week between the Lawman, Kyle Kennedy, Connor Cage, and Mr. Joshua Snow. I am sure there's going to be others in the locker room that are coming on here, but I probably forgot or I probably didn't mention. Well, actually, there is somebody I didn't mention, but I'm going to wait until Sunday night to make that announcement. So there's plenty from the locker room that are coming back on. So it would be my hope and prayer that we would be able to make that announcement here on Sportswire Radio when, where, and how Disciple will be in that tournament here. So those are some things here. And, and I got to ask you, Disciple, we got about 10 or so minutes here with you. I mean, there's other companies we do work with here, and a number of them, and they have events coming up, and they have different things going on. I mean, anything you want to say to them? Because I would think after tonight, after the mood you've been in, and obviously with GT Ministries announced here, I would have to think that some of those companies, maybe they would want somebody that's back, bigger, better, and better than ever.
You're absolutely right, Tom. Listen, I've been in this business just shy of 10 years now. I've traveled all over the country. I've wrestled in Cornwall, I've wrestled in Yorkshire, I've wrestled, London, in Cheshire. I've wrestled all over. I've wrestled some of the big names in the business. Most noticeably, Johnny Storm, Doug Williams, James Mason, Ricky Knight Jr., some of the greats within the business. When I was last at GT Ministries, I saw the management of Black Art Wrestling. And one of the conversation went like this. I didn't realize you were back wrestling, Disciple. Yeah, I'm back. The response, we'll give you a message. I haven't heard anything from Black Art Wrestling. If they know what's right for them, they would drop me a message. CCW, I've been in talks with management. And let me just say, someday down the line, you might see Disciple in CCW. UK Wrestling, been there before. Who knows, I might show up there again. NSAW, GT Ministries, as long as they play their cards right, they'll have Disciple for the long run. Other than that, Disciple is back. I am ready. I'm raring to go. I'm better than I ever was before. I'm more focused now, more determined. And I've only got one thing on my mind, and that's to win gold everywhere I go.
I'll tell you what. Listen, ladies and gentlemen here, you think about it right now. And I'm a promoter, right? I'm a businessman. And I look at who sells tickets. Who's got the resume here? And certainly you've mentioned different companies, and the floodgates have now opened once again. And I think about it right now. And I look at Morecambe right now. I'm going to add Morecambe right now. And I see what's going on there with Chris Brooker. And I see everything going on there with the natural born fighter, R.P. Davis. He disposed of Andre Decker. I mean, listen, if Chris Brooker's having problems with the natural born fighter, R.P. Davis, why don't you give Disciple a call? Steve Bibby, you're having problems with Davey Getsky. You're having problems with Nick Cutter and Chris Stone. Well, why don't you call Disciple? In fact, you put Dan Evans in the ring with Reynaldo for the championship next weekend at the Buckshore Village Community Center. I mean, listen, if Reynaldo gets past him and you don't want to give Getsky his championship shot yet, why don't you give Disciple a call? Steve Bibby, you know you work with us here on Sportswire Radio. I mean, listen, ALP and KOW, it's my understanding that the Ronan Bryan Aidenson's still going around. He's begging people, please, I need a tag team partner, please. I mean, I even hear women actually wanting to be in it with the Ronan Bryan, because Bryan Adenson can't find anybody. There's a guy, Disciple, who has defeated the Ronan Bryan Adenson in the ring. I mean, call him up. I mean, listen, we have Lucy Simons on tomorrow night. I'll make sure to bring up Disciple's name. She works for KOW. I'll bring it up. I mean, listen, young Horace makes a good point. Listen, come team with me and we can kick the Persian Empire's behind. I'll be your human baseball bat. Maybe. I tell you what. But I'll say one thing. Jack Johnson got over on Mr. Mustafa Khan pretty easily in the Fountains Community Church in Bradford on the 16th of July. So stay tuned for that. Damian Stone, who you know works with CCW, he certainly is going to pass this message tonight. You know it's going right to Barris. Listen, I work in politics. I know what happens. You mention somebody, it goes right back right afterwards. They go on the phone and they go, hey, so-and-so mentioned so-and-so. And Damian Stone says, looking forward to seeing you between our ropes up here. And let me get to another one here very quickly. Since you're getting your feet wet in NSAW with your appearance at Summertime Slaughterhouse, anyone you're looking forward to squaring off with, and should we be excited to see more of you in NSAW?
Short answer, yes, absolutely. I'm doing a bit of training with the NSAW guys, and it'd be interesting to see how they find my training session. So if there's anyone watching now, give me some feedback. I'll take any and all feedback. But in NSAW, is anyone in particular? Yeah, Supersonic Sammy Blue. I'd love to have a good scrap with him. I think he'd be a good shout, definitely. Young Horace, again, could be a good clash of styles against him. And again, Tommy Dillon. We've got some unfinished business, and some way, one way or another, we're gonna have that match.
I'll tell you what, these are also reasons why NSAW official, you want to follow on Instagram, also like their page on Facebook. And we do love Nonstop Action Wrestling here. Also GT Ministries UK on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, also YouTube. You can watch it live where Disciple will be in the ring here. Once again, the 16th of July, Fountains Community Church in Bradford. He will be there as part of a fatal four-way match to determine who will be the number 30 entrant here for the Rumble coming up to determine Jack Johnson's next contender in September. The loser, the number one, but it ain't going to be Disciple. It's going to be either Rarebit, the Metal God Alex Boylan, or Sean Only. I can promise you that. I can't wait. I think doors open usually at about 6:30 or 7. Usually first match at the Fountains Church is usually about between 7 and 7:30. So they're usually very, very good with that here. So, I definitely am looking forward to all of that here. So before I get to Paul Pierce here, because Paul Pierce is going to come on here in a few minutes. I just spoke with Paul Pierce, so I do have to get to him. And obviously we'll get to his side of things. But I mean, what do you want to say directly, first of all, your parting shots for now, to NSAW management?
Listen, I'm here. I've been fighting for just under 10 years now in this business. I've been a world champion before. I've been a multiple tag team champion. I've won Rumbles before. I've represented companies before as the top guy. It's an injustice that I'm not in that tournament. And one way or another, I will make sure that I'm in that tournament, and I will be first ever NSAW World Class Champion.
Very, very strong words here. And I guess we can say, Goliath, hope to meet you in the Rumble, Disciple. So listen, I mean, are you rooting for him to basically make short work of Gareth Angel? Is it in your interest, actually, for Goliath to maybe do well against Mr. Angel? Or for your vantage point, not really concerned about that, more focused on fatal four-way match and how that ends up? It's an interesting question I probably should bring up while I'm here.
It's going to be an interesting match for sure. Again, very different than David versus Goliath in the sense. A great match, and I think essentially it's gonna one person's gonna come out of that not in a great way. So when they're in the Rumble, they're not going to be feeling too great, and they're not going to be too good. So I think it's an opportune moment for someone like me to watch that match and study that match, and take some pointers on who I'm going to eliminate first.
Do you want your match to go before that match, or it doesn't really matter? Is there a strategic on that part, or that's not really a concern?
Again, I think when it comes to the experience that I've got, again, it's about the game plan and the mentality that you have going in the match. And like I say, I've done it before. I'll definitely do it again.
We'll find out for sure. And I want to give you, before I get to closing thoughts here, is Paul Pierce is going to join us here in a couple of minutes here on Sportswire Radio. So I'm excited about that. Thank you again to Cestus Events for setting that up here. But what do you want to say directly to A, your opponents in the Fatal 4-Way match, but also B, what do you want to say to anybody that you may see in the 30-person Rumble upcoming at the Fountains Church, July the 16th at GT Ministries?
So firstly, for my opponents, Sean Only, you've seen me before. We've wrestled before. Expect something different. That was a long time ago. And to the other two, you haven't experienced the power of Disciple yet. You haven't beheld the power of Disciple. So I can't wait to be in that ring with you. And for the other 29 participants in the Rumble match, either get out of my way or be eliminated. Because one way or another, I'm coming out of that match as a number one contender.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I think the case has been made loud and clear that Disciple very well could not only win that Fatal 4-Way match and be that number 30 participant, but he very well could win that Rumble, and he is obviously at the top of the list, no matter where he is, as one of the strong favorites in this match. Because, again, we think about the size, we think about the experience and the strength. Disciple's got it all. I mean, he's really got it all. And certainly he's going to have, I think, a front row seat in terms of throwing out some of these guys. And we'll find out who they may be. And I'm looking forward to seeing Disciple finally back in GT Ministries. And I can't wait to get him back here before July the 16th, because you can book it. Mark it on your calendar. Before the 16th of July, he's coming back. So for you, my friend, this was definitely worth the wait. I can't wait till about 2 weeks or so from now that you're going to come on here. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
I love having you on. I certainly love, speaking with you. I did get a chance also to see that, I guess you'd say, Cop Buddy video with you and the Playboy Prince Lance Rivera, and certainly shout out to the Playboy Prince Lance Rivera, although he's like Hollywood now. He's like big time now in his own right, but we'll definitely work on getting him back one of these days. But I'm happy to have Disciple here. So I turn it over to you, my friend. I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything you want to plug, share, say, and can't wait to the next time. And happy to see you finally have some prayers answered, but we'll see how that goes when it comes to NSAW. And I turn it over to you, and the floor is yours.
Appreciate it, Tom. Thank you again for having me back. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Looking forward to coming back again very soon before July 16th. And
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. As I've mentioned before, as you've very well put it, Disciple is back. I am ready. I'm raring to go. I'm better than ever. I'm more focused than before. So CCW, Blackheart Wrestling, UK Wrestling, Odyssey, KOW, whoever it might be, Disciple is back and ready.
I'll tell you what, they used to famously sing Back in Black. Da-na-na, da-na-na. Disciple, He's just back, and it's going to be, I'm telling you, not even like the first time. It's going to be even better than the first time. And certainly, I agree with Goliath. I would actually like to see Disciple and Goliath match up in the Rumble. We'll see. I mean, certainly, Goliath's got his own issues to deal with. Obviously, he's got Mr. Angel, but I know Disciple is going to get the job done in that Fatal 4-Way match. Disciple Wrestler on Instagram. Also here, Twitter as well, BTR_Disciple, and Facebook, also Disciple Wrestling. And we're working on new shirts. So I'm looking forward to those new shirts because I got a
Very
wild card
soon.
Tommy Dillon shirt on. That's great. But I'm really, really looking forward to wearing that Disciple shirt around here. And I cannot wait for that. So for you, my friend, obviously, I can't thank you enough for all that you do. I'm excited that you took time out of your busy day because I know you're getting ready for bookers to kind of call you. I know you're getting ready for movie assignments. I know you're getting ready for all different things. You're a very, 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 I stress enough, very busy man. But I certainly thank you here for giving us the opportunity. And I look forward to speaking with you in 2 weeks. And we'll see what happens with NSAW, I'm sure. All right.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
As we're here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show with pro wrestling star here, an actor and former world champion. That's Joe As I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportzwire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. Stay tuned here in about, I'd say, about another minute or so. We will hear from world champion Paul Pierce. In fact, Paul was supposed to be with us here in a second, but he's just setting up. So looking forward to that. He'll have his big match talking about here on the 23rd of July. He'll be fighting in Portsmouth, where Disciple is from. So hang on tight for that. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you're on sportnarium.com/player, thank you also for tuning in. We are also now joined by LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, also our partners over on Northeast Streaming Sports Channel, as we were just joined here with Disciple. So hang on tight here for station identification here on Sportswire Radio. We are waiting now for Paul Pierce. We are waiting for Paul Pierce, world champion boxer, who is going to be in the ring here on the 23rd of July. So we are looking forward to having Paul. So I thank the Disciple for coming on here. So looking forward to all of that here. So we've got, it looks like maybe another minute or two before Paul Pierce comes on. So obviously the announcement here that we recapped on Sportswire Radio is that Disciple is going to be a part of the GT Ministries 30-person Rumble, where he will also be in a fatal 4-way match prior to that, where the winner of that will be the number 30 participant, and the loser will wind up being the number 1 participant. He'll be in the ring with the Metal God Alex Borland. He will also be in the ring with Rarebit and Sean Only. So a lot to get into there when it comes to GT Ministries. If you like what you hear from GT Ministries, I hope that you follow GT Ministries on Facebook, on Instagram, and also Twitter at GT Ministries UK. So a lot to get into here when it comes to the world of professional wrestling and here in boxing. So we are just waiting, anticipating the return very quickly here when it comes to Paul Pierce. He is fighting for the undisputed world championships here for the WBU World Welterweight Championship. So he'll be fighting for that in the PBC Championship on the 23rd of July. So really, really excited about that here. So obviously looking forward to that. So you can also see Paul Pierce on pay-per-view. It'll be Power pay-per-view in the UK. So looking forward to all that here on Sportswire Radio. So I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. So hang on tight here for station identification here on Sportswire Radio. So we are just waiting now for world, and he's here, ladies and gentlemen. It was worth the wait, but I promise you, if you thought Disciple was big, wait till you hear from this guy. He's going to be fighting in Portsmouth. He's been a world champion. He's been a star all over the world. He is with our very good friends over at Cestus Events. So without further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, world champion boxer, that is Paul Pierce. The champ is here, to quote John Cena. My friend, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me.
Well, certainly I know that Trevor Lakey, who we know obviously Mr. Lakey very well from when he was running things, when he was Sportnarium Radio. I know when he does introductions, I can promise you it ain't going to be as thunderous as the one I gave you that you'll get July 23rd in Portsmouth. Champ, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. Very good. Very tired, but I'm good.
Well, we know you're a busy man. We know you're getting ready for a huge fight, which, by the way, 23rd on July 23rd, you're going to be able to watch Homecoming in Portsmouth. And we know that Paul Pierce is going to be a huge part of that, along with some friends of the show like Laura Payne. Laura Payne has been with us here in the past. Obviously, Jack Way. I mean, there's a lot to get into here. We've got Mark Ellens now is going to be a huge part of things. I mean, very, very exciting. Of course, if you want to watch Paul Pierce, you can do that on powerpayperview.com. That's powerpayperview.com. Make sure you watch Paul Pierce because I was watching his last fight the other day, and it was in a blink of an eye, in a New York minute he won. So he's calling KO. I got a very good feeling about it. So let's get into July 23rd. Obviously, last time we were in the ring, it was, like I said, quicker than a New York minute. How do you feel going into this fight, maybe compared to that fight? And talk to us right now about your mindset going into the 23rd of July here.
I can only call a knockout. I'm calling a knockout. I've not been 12 rounds. I'm not planning on going to 12 either.
Oh, I don't think I want you to go 12 rounds because I think I want to get it done here. As Queen would famously say, another one bites the dust. Paul Pierce is going to get the job done. But I mean, when it comes to a fight like this where you're that confident, I interview a lot of people, right? I do wrestlers, I do athletes, I do politicians. I speak with all different types of people. The mindset usually is almost like, well, they don't want to kind of be that confident. They don't want to go into it with that mindset. Why so maybe different than maybe some other people that I have here on Sportswire Radio that might be maybe, how can I put it, more modest? Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I am confident. I'm very confident. But
you should be. Look at this. Look at where you are right now. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, very confident, but I'm not looking past him. But I can only see a knockout. I mean, he's not the best. Technically, he's not the best. He's proven in his record that he's more than capable of knocking people out. But looking at his record, looking at the people he's boxed, looking at the records of people he's boxed, he's not been in with anyone technically as good as me. So when I land, he's going out like the rest of them.
I got a very good feeling about that. And obviously, again, Paul Pierce, one of the premier boxers around here, fighting for not one, but 2 championship belts here on the 23rd of July. And I want to thank our friends over at Cestus Events, obviously, for setting this up for us. And if you like what you hear from Cestus Events, please follow them on Twitter at Cestus Events. Also, make sure you follow Trevor Lakey at Trevor Lake 17 here for all the great things he does here, especially as a licensed British and Irish Boxing Authority promoter, otherwise known as BIBA. So very, very excited for all of what our friends do here at Cestus Events. But I mean, talk to me then when it comes to training. Now, don't give away the strategy, but in terms of preparation, I mean, what goes into maybe for this fight versus, let's say, the last time we saw you in the ring?
There's not really much difference. Obviously, I'm just preparing for a longer distance. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm confident that the KO will come, but I've still got a plan for a longer fight. So obviously the training's a lot different. Training's a lot longer. I've got to train for a longer fight. I've got to be prepared to go to 12, but like I keep saying, and it's not going to 12.
And I almost have to bring up your opponent. And forgive me if I butchered his last name. Samuel, is it Akorgo?
I think it's pronounced Akorgo. Akroogo.
I always tell people I'm from New York, so I butcher every single name. So I always tell people because we obviously are all around the world. All right, well, that makes me feel better. If you're having trouble with it, that means if I'm having trouble with it, it's okay. I mean, I know your opponent, his record isn't the best. I mean, obviously, it's well documented, but do you try maybe still not to take him lightly? Do you still try to, envision?
Hey, look, my first 4 fights, a lot of people look at my first 4 fights and think that I've been stopped. I've lost my first 4, but my first 4 fights I was on the road, and when you're on the road, it means you're a journeyman, and you get paid to lose. So if I wasn't a journeyman, I mean, people will look at my box rec. I mean, under box rec, I box with 2 different associations. So you've got the British Boxing Board of Control, and then you've got your BIBA, which is the British Irish Boxing Association. So if you was boxing under the box rec or concentrating on box rec, you would look at my record and think, oh my God, he's had, I don't know what my box rec shows. I think it's 2 or 3. And I've lost 2 or 3. Or have I lost 1? No. On my box rec, I think I've had 3.
Well, I wasn't going to bring up the record. I was going to bring up the record you have under BIBA because that's a good record.
Yeah. So under box rec, see, they pick and choose on what fights and what records they want to put on. So under box rec, it shows me, I think, 3-1. But if you go on my fight facts, my box ranking, it shows 14. I think it's 14-10 with 8 knockouts. So 10 wins with 8 knockouts. So anyone that knows me or doesn't know me, please don't go on my box rec. Go on my fight facts. Because on my first 4 fights, I was actually on the road and I was paid.
Well, I have 9-5, by the way. I have 9-5 as your career record.
Okay, well, there's one more than that. I think it's 10-5.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so people, anyone that's watching that wants to call me out on box rec, please don't just look on box rec. Please look on the British Irish Boxing Association record, because I'm not a loser. I'm a winner.
Absolutely, no question about it. And we are definitely excited to have Paul Pierce with us. And if you like what you hear from Paul Pierce, please do give him a follow on Instagram at ppierce87. Also give him a follow also on Twitter as well. Also Facebook. Do give him a follow and a like. He is Pierce 10. I was about to say Pierce. I was like, well, why am I saying 2 Pierce? But Pierce 10 on Twitter as well. And of course, I am looking forward to speaking more with him and, of course, our friends at Cessus Events, because they have a great event coming up here, the 23rd of July here, and it's in Portsmouth, and very, very excited about on Powered Pay-Per-View here. So all great stuff here. And I wanted to ask you about Cessus Events, because I know Cessus Events very well. I've known Lakey and Steve and everybody behind that company for quite a while. And how have they helped you in terms of getting your name out there and such?
Well, to be honest, I've not met Trevor in person, but people who want to develop, people who want to put on good shows, reach out to people who put on good fights. Trevor is a really nice bloke. Like I say, I've not met him personally, but he obviously wants to make good cards. So he's reached out with me, and we talk on a daily basis. Not so much daily, but we talk a lot. And he's given me a shot on fighting on a great card with some great fights. And he's made it happen for 2 world titles, and I want to thank Lee McAllister as well for also adding the PBC. Look, this is going to be a great show. This is going to be a really great show.
I have a comment in here, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I'll read it off because I'm almost afraid because I don't know what this comment is. But Paul Pierce will be fighting on my event here in Crandon, Wisconsin. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Make sure. I want to make sure. Okay. Because I'm like, I wasn't quite sure. So talk me through about Crandon, Wisconsin. What's going on here? And thank you, Skylar Cole Dominguez, for tuning in.
Thank you very much, Skylar, for reaching out. So I've got a very good friend in Lisa McClellan that lives over in the States. It's Gerald McClennan's sister.
Okay, sure.
We've been friends for a good while now. She's put me in touch with Skylar. Now, I've always wanted a box in the States.
Okay.
Skylar's given me that opportunity on, I do believe it's October 8th. Is that what he's...
My birthday is October 7th, so wow, that's actually, what a small world there.
Yeah. So
I might actually have to try to find my way to Crandon, Wisconsin then, because, like I said, my birthday is October 7th, and October 8th, this fight is taking place. I mean...
How far are you from there?
What's that?
How far are you from Wisconsin?
I mean, I'm in New York, so I mean, I'm sure it would have to be either like an Amtrak or it'd have to be a plane ride to some extent. But I mean, if the, I guess is Skylar affiliated with the fight? I mean, Skylar, if you definitely want to message me on Facebook and if you'd like me to promote the fight and the card, I'm more than happy to do that. Maybe we can work something out here before that on October the 8th. So, yeah, I'd be happy to do anything I could if it's my birthday is the day before that. So what a small world. So an early birthday, I guess I got right now. But talk to me about that fighting in the States. What is that like in that experience? What will that be like for you? Because obviously I know you're in Scotland right now and you're from Liverpool. You're going to be in Portsmouth. I mean, walk me through that experience in terms of what do you think that'll feel like?
Look, I've just come back from Ghana. I boxed in Ghana in October.
I saw that.
I'm happy to go wherever the fight is. I'm happy to fight anyone in the world. It doesn't really matter. I'm not in it for the win. I'm not in it for the loss. I'm not.
Well, you should be in it for the win, champ. You're gonna have two champions in the 23rd.
Hey, look, if the win's there, the win's there. But I've always boxed for me. I've always trained for me. I've always trained for the focus. I've done it since I was young. I've done it for a number of different reasons. But obviously, as going back to my record from when I first started as a pro, I wasn't really interested. I was in it for the money at the start. And then obviously I met Lee McAllister who turned around and
I know Lee from Trevor. Yeah. And I know Lee very well.
So Lee turned around and took me after 4 fights and he was like, Paul, you've given too much to the sport. Before you end up digging your hole and and you can't come back from all these losses, turn it around. And obviously on my 5th fight I boxed for the English title, a PBC English title. I won that over 8 rounds and then it all went uphill from there. So for me, I'm still fighting for me. I'm still fighting for the focus, everything that comes with it. Obviously, I've won a few titles now, and I am very appreciative of the people that are putting me in for these cards and looking out for me and wanting me to box on different shows. And don't get me wrong, I'm not blowing smoke up my own ass, but I am good to watch. I am very technical. I am. I get commented on all the time. So for me to go over to America and fight, it's good. It's good for anybody. I mean, it's something to look forward to. It's a different country. It's a different style of fight. I'll go wherever the fight is. I don't care who it is. I mean, I've been asked now, what would you rather fight or who would you rather fight? And my answer is always, I don't really care. Just put me in with anybody. Win, lose or draw, I'm happy just to fight and put a good show on. And Skyler will tell you, he's offered me opponents, and I said, I don't care.
He just messaged us right now. I mean, we're obviously talking about that and maybe working on promoting the card. And, I mean, when Skyler reached out to you, what was that like when he reached out?
Well, Lisa actually put me in touch with Skyler. Lisa's a very good friend of mine now, and Lisa wants me to box over in America. She's doing what she can to help me. She's put me in touch with a few different people, but Skyler has actually reached out for me and has actually given me a date straight away. So, again, thank you very much, Skyler, and I look forward to come over there and putting on a good show.
And I can't wait to promote it here on Sportswire Radio. And certainly if the powers that be would like to have us at the Forest County Potawatomi Center. Did I say it right? I think it's Potawatomi or Potawatomi, whatever it might be. It could be pastrami for all I know. No disrespect to anybody in Crandon, Wisconsin, but it could be many things. But I know that Paul Pierce will be there. Talk about having the fight on Powered Pay-Per-View on the 23rd. What does that mean to you?
No, it means a lot. I mean, it's 600 miles, well, 600 or 700 miles away from where I'm living now. So, again, it's a big opportunity for me to be able to still sell some tickets live and still be able to sell some tickets for people to be able to watch me, even though I'll be there alone or with only a few people watching. It means a lot for be able to still put a show on and people still support me.
What did you learn from the Scott Harrison fight during COVID? His comeback fight, and that was, a guy that you were neck and neck with him early in the fight. I mean, I was watching the fight yesterday. It was obviously on YouTube and it was on Fight TV, and I was watching this fight, and here's a guy that hadn't been in the ring for 7 years and had obviously resume speaks for itself, world champion multiple times, but you were right there with him. I don't know if anybody really kind of took notice of you until that fight. I mean, what did you walk away from with the Scott Harrison fight?
A lot of experience. Obviously, training for the Harrison fight, I had to do it alone because we were in lockdown at the time.
I remember. We had a fight here on Sportnarium that Trevor promoted. Maybe your fight was in the summer of 2020. They had one about 6 months later, I want to say, and it was like still the same thing.
Possibly, yeah. Obviously, I wasn't able to go to the gym. I was training myself. I was doing a lot of running. Obviously, I live on an island, so there was no getting off the island. There was no sparring. There was no proper preparation. But I was never, ever going to turn that fight down. I done my best. I got down to the weight. I'd never boxed at lightweight. I'd never even been lightweight. I mean, I can't even remember since turning pro in 2000 and maybe 2017, something like that. I'd never boxed at lightweight. I always wanted to box at lightweight, but I never ended up boxing at lightweight. So when the fight got offered to me, I knew I was going to struggle, and it made it even harder for me to get down to the weight through lockdown on my own, no sparring. But I got down to 10 stone, no excuses. I had to do a major weight cut the day before to lose the extra £4. Doing the weight cut the day before, the complete wrong way, but it had to be done. I done a water cut with bath salts. Again, no excuses. I made the weight. I made it a lot easier. I mean, it took an extra £7 off me after doing the bath salts. But you live and learn. I was never ever gonna not make the weight. So first round felt great. Second round, I felt it a little bit. And I was told by my nutritionist at the time, if you don't look after your body after doing such a cut, if he hits you with any body shot, you are going to feel it. So he hit me with the body shot in the third round. And don't get me wrong, I felt it. It was a great shot. I neglected it, to be honest, because I had that many people in my head over the last couple of days coming leading up to the fight. Don't let him hit you. He's a big puncher, this and that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not scared. I'm not worried, and I can't take a punch to the chin. But when it comes to Scott Harrison, I completely look past his IQ. His boxing IQ is brilliant. Coming to the fight, I look past his skill. So when he hit me with the body shot I think it was the second round. It was the second or third. It was either the second or the third fight. And when he landed that overhand right on me, all them people in my head that were telling me to be worried, that like telling me not to get caught, and if he catches you, you're gonna feel it, blah blah blah. When he hit me in that third round with that overhand right, I was like, is that it? But then I completely neglected the body, and that's when he landed that body shot. And when he landed that body shot, I couldn't after the water cut, the bath salts, I couldn't. There was only so long I was gonna last. It felt like someone had just popped me. It was hard, but don't get me wrong. If he would give me another chance, I don't think he would go the distance either.
I don't think he's been in the ring, I think, last I checked since then. So I think
No.
clearly you showed him that, you know what? Yes, it was a great story that he came back, and obviously that was the talk of that whole fight and the lead up going into that. But, I mean, it was 7 years from his last fight to then, and it's going to very well maybe 7 years or longer until his next one. So,
hey, look, did you see how the shape he was in for his age?
Yep.
7 years old, he was in some shape.
He was like 42, right? 43 going into that fight?
44. He was 10 years older than me.
Yeah. I know. Listen, he was in his. Here's a guy that was 43 and in the shape that he was in. I mean, in one sense, I'm kind of not surprised because I cover a lot of wrestling here, a lot of wrestlers, and the wrestlers are like in tip-top shape. I mean, there's guys, believe it or not, in their late 40s, and they look like they haven't aged a bit. So I give him a lot of credit for that. But I mean, what would it mean to you to win the PBC and the WBU World Welterweight Championships on the 23rd of July?
I mean, who doesn't want to win a world title? But again, people don't think I'm mad here, but it's not about the titles for me. It's really not. It never has been. I mean, it's nice to show what you've done and what you've achieved, but it's not about the titles. It's really not. For me, it's the lead up to the titles. It's the focus that you have to put in. It's the determination. It's the sacrifice. It's everything. It's everything leading up to the fight. It's not the actual fight. The fight's the easy bit, and I'll enjoy the fight. But the world titles, they're just something to show off.
I'll tell you what, we're certainly looking forward to all of that here. And again, we are with Boxing Star here. Fighter, prize fighter, world champion, you name it, Paul Pierce. And look at the shape of this man, ladies and gentlemen. If you were watching this on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and YouTube, and LinkedIn, this guy is on a whole nother level. Watch his last fight, and it was almost like literally I had a zip of ginger ale, and then the fight was over. It was like that was it. So he's calling knockout. He very well may call knockout. Power Pay-Per-View UK.com. PowerPayPerView.com is where you can actually watch it. Power Pay-Per-View UK is where you can follow them on Twitter for all great content, including everything related to Paul Pierce. And I want to thank also Skylar for getting us some information on the card, and we will certainly promote that, which, of course, Paul Pierce is going to be a part of, and he's facing Samuel. Again, I'll fill in the blanks. I guess Akorgo or Kigo. It doesn't really make a difference because Paul Pierce is going to get the job done here, and he's going to finish him off here. I also got to congratulate you, I guess. It looks like the family's growing a little bit. I see here, sneak peek here. From your last post. So I have to, if I didn't say congratulations or kind of ask you that question, I would really not be doing my job. And Mr. Lakey, I'm sure, would be like, well, Tom, why didn't you ask him? So congratulations for the family growing a little bit, I see.
Thank you very much.
Does that make you feel like you fight maybe more knowing that, you know what, now I'm going to have a family on the way, and I'm going to have a family where they're going to get to look upon me and see what I do? And does that maybe inspire you a little bit more, knowing that there's somebody on the way that's going to get to watch you and, you're going to get to care for? Talk to me about that.
Of course it is. I mean, I've got a 4-year-old and a 3-month-old now, so, it gives me, it's a lot more than me because I never had a fatherly figure in my life. And, for me to be a father now and to be still doing something I enjoy and to maybe get 2 world titles, one each for me girls, Of course it is.
Skylar asked, are there any fans coming over with you to Crandon, Wisconsin? I don't know that question yet, right?
We will have to see. Hopefully, Skylar.
Yeah, hopefully. I think that's the question, I guess, would be stay tuned. I mean, today's the 30th, so that would mean we're about, a little over 3 months. So, I mean, who knows what the future would bring. I always have to ask this question, and I know you've answered it before in prior interviews, but what made you want to become a boxer?
I fell into it because, cut a long story short, my dad was very violent. Domestic violence was my background. He was very nasty towards my mother. He always, he was violent, and there was this poster that went round my school to say that there was a boxing. It wasn't a boxing club. It was like a fitness sort of thing,
Right.
In the school, and I went, and I think at the time it was just to get out the house. It was just to, get a little bit of anger out because there was nothing I could do growing up, and I never ever looked back. I got complimented on my footwork. I took to it, and from the age of 10, I got moved to a proper boxing club. It wasn't in my school no more, and I went to a club called Heighton ABC, which is in Liverpool. I had my first 7 fights for the Heighton ABC. Moved to a different club because I wasn't getting too many, and it grew till I had about 55 amateur fights. I had a good amateur background, only left 7. And then obviously I'd become a teenager. Started getting into a little bit of trouble, living my life. As you do.
Hey, I'm still getting into trouble at this point. I'm in my 30s, and I'm getting in trouble every single day of my life. I mean, so yeah. I hear you.
So, look, it was one of them. I had my reasons. Again, I never ever wanted a box. I was never an angry person. I didn't put myself there. I just fell into it. It was just somewhere I went, and I've never looked back. And look,
what's that?
And look at me now.
Oh, listen, I mean, you're going to be fighting now in the United States of America. You're going to be having 2 world titles around your waist. You're going to have a growing family. And also, Skylar reminds us for the October 8th fight, it'll be live on TKO pay-per-view. So certainly you can, I'm pretty sure, stream that. You can download that app and go to TKO pay-per-view and get all details. But we are focused on the 23rd of July coming up here. Paul Pierce in a huge fight where he very well will be a WBU and PBC World Welterweight Champion. Looking forward to seeing him here in Portsmouth. And I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you like what you hear from us here on Sportswire Radio, do give us a like here on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. On 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. We are also on Northeast Streaming Sports Channel on Roku. So I want to thank everybody that's tuned in here all over the world as we are with world champion boxer Paul Pierce. He is certainly going to end it very quick. Like his last fight, he was in Ghana and it ended, like I said, 1, 2, 3, snap, crackle, and pop. And even that punch, I mean, how many times have you watched that punch? Because it was so funny. I'm watching the punch and it was like one of those like slow motion. When you ever play like Xbox and you're playing a boxing game and it's just like they do the replay and it was like, you could kind of see him going down. And then like he was trying to get up and it was like one of those like movies where it was like you saw him and it was like, he was, like, it's just like so. Like I just like kept watching that over and over and over. I mean, did you get yourself kind of like in that moment doing the same thing? I mean, what do you think?
It doesn't really cross your mind. Look, a fight's a fight. Whatever happens, happens. Win, lose,
Listen.
I still enjoy it. Look, I lost my first fight, as I keep saying. I still enjoyed it. I mean, it's a lot better winning, and it's a lot better winning than these big titles. But it's not always about these titles for me. I just love a fight. I love getting in there, doing a bit, and getting out.
What are your goals for the rest of this year after the 23rd? Obviously, we know October the 8th, but is there any other fights that you have scheduled or any other goals that you might have for 2022?
Oh, there's always goals. I mean, there's fights being called all the time. I mean, I always take the big fights. I'd love the Harrison rematch, me. I really would love the Harrison rematch. I also got offered Niraj Guyat. I wouldn't mind him for a world title leader. He's another Indian Olympian.
Okay.
I got offered him on his last fight, and that fell through. I just want big names. I want good fights. I want to box the best. I mean, if anyone's watching this that have got really good boxers at super lightweight to welter, let's go. Give me them.
Let me ask you a question, and those are all great things here. But I know in boxing, especially at this level, I know we're working our way up the ranks. I know you fought internationally, but work me through in terms of what sponsorship means and who are your sponsors and how can those who might want to say, you know what, I got Paul Pierce and I like Paul Pierce a lot and I want to help him and I want to support and I want to be a sponsor. How can they get involved with that? But also talk to me about some of your other sponsors currently at the moment who are making this possible for you to continue to be the champion that you are.
To be honest, I've just lost a lot of sponsors, and I'll tell you this in the shortest bit of space I can do it. So 2 years ago, there was a man called Charles Russo. He's actually from New York.
Oh wow! Okay.
His real name is Peter McMahon. He's just I don't think stole's the right word. Conned me for about $16,000. 2 years ago, I met this man, and there'll be a lot of people watching this now who know who this man is. He goes by the name of Charles Russo. He set up this boxing event called Boxing at Sea. I'll send you the link to my story. He conned, I don't know how many people for this event. Within the first 6 weeks, I sent him over $10,000 with all my sponsors backing me.
What?
People buying cabins to this boxing at sea. I'll send you the story so you can read it.
Yeah, my crack staff has just sent me. We're looking at the details as we speak. Okay. And this guy, I see it.
Yeah. So I've just lost a lot of sponsors because of this man. I've just lost a lot of backing because of this man. So at this very minute, I'm going into this fight with one sponsor. I have paid for everything myself. I have paid for the sanction fees, title fees, opponents' fees. I have paid for everything. Everything myself. For me to make this fight happen, I have had to pay for everything. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it just shows you why I'm in the sport. It just shows you I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for me. I mean, I might make a couple of quid from it, but
I have to ask you though, going back to that, and let's talk about it. Unfortunately, the Russo thing, because if I didn't talk about it here, I almost wouldn't be doing my job. I mean, does when you have something happen like this, I mean, does that make you feel jaded about the industry? Does it make you have trust issues? I mean, it's great what Skylar's doing, but I mean, this guy Russo, I mean, he scammed a lot of people out there. I mean, does that maybe kind of make you almost a little jaded about things in boxing, or walk me
no.
through that?
It makes you realize how vulnerable boxers are. It makes you realize how easy it is for you to get to these big boxers. Because when I met Charles, he had some really big names around him, even Butterbean. He had a lot of names, which made me realize that. It made me think that he was legit. He made me
Right.
him with all these names around him, and because he had so many real names around him, it made me send that money quite quick. It made me send that money very quick. I sold about 15 cabins straight away. I mean, these were like $550 deposit per person, which he got very quickly off me because of the backing I had. So, it's been 2 years now. He's dragged it out. I tried to stay undercover. I tried to stay involved. We followed him for so long, and then I just got sick of it. I got sick of being undercover. I got sick of messaging him on a daily basis. He was calling my eldest, his niece, on video camera because we spoke, and I was trying to catch where he was. I was trying to take note where he was. I was informing the FBI, which he couldn't and wouldn't do anything about it because it was internationally, and there was loads. We hired private investigators. I lost out on a lot of money chasing this guy over the last 2 years, but at the end of the day, I let my story out. He's disappeared. He's fell off the face of the earth. There's no more Facebook. There's no more groups. He's stopped conning people. I might have lost a lot of money, and I might have lost a lot of friends and sponsors, but at the end of the day, I'm still fighting. I am still open to help. I am still open to sponsors if anyone is out there that wants to help me. If not, don't worry, because I'm still fighting. I'm still, I do work, and I will back myself, and I will keep doing what I'm doing.
But how are you able to do this? I mean, because listen, I've had on Lakey in the past, before she kind of let things with her head go a little bit, Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell. And I know with Nicola Hopewell, it was like, I got to have this sponsor and that sponsor and that sponsor. And I've had Laura Payne's been on the show, who's going to be on the card. And I know that, like, this is a not cheap thing. Boxing's expensive. It's an expensive sport. So how are you managing? How are you able to, like, live if you're not getting sponsors, you're not getting paid, and you're paying the other fighters' fees? I mean, how is this all possible? I mean, money don't grow on trees.
No, I do work as well. I run a 55-bedroom hotel here in Orkney, so I've got a very, I don't know how to call it. It's a good job.
Okay.
Very stressful job.
I'm sure.
It's a big job, so it's well paid.
Okay.
It is a shame I have to work so hard to pay for these sorts of things, but that's the way it is. I'm not in it for the money. It just shows you. I'm in it for the fight and the focus. So, it doesn't bother me. It does help, and it's nice to have the sponsors, but not every boxer gets the help. Not every boxer.
No, I recognize that, and there's no question that, look, this is, again, a very difficult thing, and I'm sorry that it happened to you, and I hope that it doesn't happen to any other fighter out there, and I hope that this individual is on the Bermuda Triangle right now. I hope that this individual is somewhere he's lost at sea, doesn't come back, and certainly another one bites us. But if you do want to help Paul Pierce, you can go to Piers10 on Twitter. You can go to ppiers87 on Instagram, and you can follow him on Facebook at Paul Pierce and see if you want to sponsor. See if you want to support this man, because this man is somebody we can get behind. This is a man that's going to go on and do bigger and better things, and he's going to have not one, but 2 championship belts in his repertoire coming up here July the 23rd. He will be fighting on powerpayperview.com. He will be fighting against Samuel. You can fill in the blanks. It doesn't matter. He's going to win the match. Then we're going to see him on TKO pay-per-view October the 8th in Crandon, Wisconsin at the Forest County Powhatami Center, and looking forward to that. And I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. Got another 5 or 10 minutes here with Paul Pierce. We know Paul is a very, very busy man right now, and obviously he is getting ready for this fight. And I was also curious in terms of have you met the other fighters on the card yet? Whether it's Laura Payne, Jack Way, who I think is supposed to come on here, and have you met some of these fighters, or it doesn't work like that?
No, I have watched Laura in the past, and I have spoke to Jack.
Okay.
I know they're both very good fighters.
Yes.
It'll be a good show. I'm not betting them personally, but I have followed their previous fights.
All right, that's certainly fair. And I also figure as a boxer, you kind of like figure you're focused on your own thing anyway. So, what do you really watch somebody else? So that's certainly fair points there when it comes to that. And then give me in terms of when it comes to this fight here on the 23rd. I'm always curious when I ask a boxer this, when do you start thinking, okay, the fight is here? How soon until the fight happens, or how close is when you start recognize, okay, it's fight night?
Every boxer will stay the same, and he should stay the same. A boxer will only say he knows he's close when he's getting his hands wrapped.
Okay. I would have thought see, in wrestling, we do a lot of wrestling here, and the wrestlers are like the day before they start to think about it. For you guys, it's not until...
Not even when you see him. It's
really okay.
It's focus time when you've got to sit down, you've got to put your hands out to be wrapped.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is it for me anyway.
So the week of when we go to the lead up with the 23rd, it's going to be business as usual for you. Nothing, no different. Nope. Okay, that's interesting because, like I said, I do a lot of wrestling here on Sportswire. We haven't had boxing in a while, and that's why I was so happy to have you on here, because in wrestling, it's like the wrestlers like the day before. It's like, oh, okay. I'm like, they're like, they can't sleep. It's like they're ready to go. It's like, but with you as a boxer, I guess, maybe because it's a different thing. Maybe more it's mental, and you're kind of thinking more. You have to control your aggression.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it. That could maybe be a good way.
If I start thinking about my fight the day before, I'd lose half my energy.
I want to ask you this question before I get to closing thoughts here, and I know it's kind of tough because you've had a lot of moments, but is there one or two moments that you think stands out in your career most so far?
2, yeah, definitely.
Okay, give me 2.
So the first one was turning it round from being a journeyman to a winner, which was, again, thankful to Lee McAllister, because if it wasn't for Lee, I think I'd have gone down the losing route, the journeyman route for the money.
Okay.
And it would have been a shame because I put so much time, effort, and years into the boxing. Another one that stands out for me is the Harrison fight, because even though I lost that, I learned a hell of a lot.
I felt like watching that fight that I felt like that in some ways you won that fight, because like I said, people didn't know what to expect about you. Harrison obviously was a WBO world champion. He was a guy that was big time. Harrison was a guy that the average boxing fan, the average boxing writer, they knew who this guy was. And they looked at you and they looked at, oh, okay, whether it was, the box record or even the Bieber record.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of him. But you showed that you hung in there, and you were right there, and I think you won 3 of the 6 rounds. I mean, you were basically like in my book, like he beat you on a decision, but it wasn't like he outclassed you at the end of the fight. But I felt like if that fight happens again, I feel like you probably would get him, because I think you would have adjusted to the second half of that fight. And I think that's probably what's going to really propel you into having that success and getting over what happened with the scam artist, who I won't even mention his name. But I think you'll get over that. And I do encourage, again, anybody that wants to sponsor or support you, definitely do so. That is PPears87 on Instagram, Piers10 on Twitter. Also, Cestus Events. Thank you, Cestus Events, for sharing our show here. You can follow them, Cestus Events. You can also get more information from them, cestus.co.uk. That's cestus.co.uk. They have a fight here coming up with the entire card. Portsmouth Homecoming, which Paul is a huge part of, the 23rd of July. Then they're in Shoreham on November the 5th in London. So all great stuff there from our friends Trevor Lakey and, of course, Steve Trendle. And now you can also win a pair of ringside tickets to the Portsmouth Homecoming Championship Boxing on July the 23rd. To enter, all you have to do is follow Cestus Events. You have to retweet this tweet and copying 4 friends. The competition closes the 15th of July at midnight. So definitely make sure you get out there, because I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of fun. PowerPayPerView.com. And I got to ask you before I get to closing thoughts, have you been to Portsmouth before? I mean, what's Portsmouth like? Because I was wondering, because we had on a wrestler before, Disciple, who's from Portsmouth, actually. I'm probably going to, yeah, he was a world champion wrestler. He was actually an actor also. Interesting guy. And I should almost ask, like, are you curious what Portsmouth is like, or, you don't really care?
It's just another place, you know.
Okay. So you don't get, like, wrapped up into these, but like Ghana or Wisconsin, you don't go there and like, hey, I'm going to sightsee or I'm going to visit people. Not like that at all for a fighter?
I mean, for a normal fight, yeah. But for a fight like this, I'm not thinking of anything else other than knocking him out.
So, but when you go to Wisconsin, is that like where you get there a week ahead of time and sightsee, or how does that work?
Hopefully I'll be on weight, and hopefully I'll be able to have a little look with not being over to that part of the States before, yeah. Be nice.
Okay. Have you been to America before?
I've been to a few places, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense. All good stuff. And tell me then what's like right now in Aberdeen, right, in Scotland. What's it like right now there out in Scotland?
Very, very light for this time of night. I mean, it's 10 to 11 at night. And
I know. I was looking at it, and I'm like, wow, it's actually like here in New York, it's about, right now it's light till about 9 o'clock, about maybe a little after 9 o'clock, and then, it gets dark. But here where you are, I was like, wow, are you really in Scotland? I'm thinking, I thought you were in Los Angeles for a second, let alone Aberdeen there. All right, so all great stuff here, and obviously it has been a tremendous honor to have Paul Pierce here, pro boxing star. He's a very, very busy man, so we're happy to have had any time with him here tonight. And Paul, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything you want to plug, share, say, and I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. I want to one more time thank Trevor Lakey, Steve Trendle, everybody involved with Cestus Events for giving us this great opportunity. And I'm looking forward to watching you on Power Pay-Per-View. I will be watching the fight July the 23rd. In fact, I've actually adjusted my plans to make sure I can watch you, because Laura Payne is actually somebody I've interviewed before, and I'm supposed to interview Jack Way. I mean, I don't know what Jack Way is waiting for, but we'll assume we're interviewing him. So I can't wait for all the card here, Portsmouth Homecoming. So I turn it over to you, champ, and the floor is yours, and fire away.
I just want to say thank you to you, Tom. I want to say thank you to Trevor, and I want to also say thank you to Skylar for obviously giving me to come over there and, fight over in the States as well. So thank you to the 3 of you.
All right, very great stuff. And, of course, one more time, you can follow Paul Pierce on Instagram at ppierce87. You can also follow him, Pierce10 on Twitter. Also, Paul Pierce on Facebook. And we also have here, it looks like, Skylar says, you are welcome, so we appreciate that. If you were on, well, I was actually choking on something for a second, so I was like, we don't want that, right? So if you are on Sportzwire Radio, you will be going back to your regularly scheduled programming here in a few minutes. If you are on our other streams, I want to thank you tonight for tuning in, as we heard from First Disciple, pro wrestling star here from GT Ministries and Nonstop Action Wrestling, and also world champion boxer here, Paul Pierce, who will be fighting for the PBC and the WBU welterweight championships July the 23rd on PowerPayPerView.com, and our friends over at Cestus Events are playing a huge role in that, so we want to thank them. And I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio. The Reverend Tom Bryce will be back here tomorrow night live with pro wrestling journalist Lucy Simons, plus Wildfire Nate Reese and the Acid Stephen Cross. Until then, thank you, and thank you to world champion boxer Paul Pierce, as the champ was here, to quote John Cena one more time. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Good luck, Paul Pierce. Go get him out there, and we will be back tomorrow night on Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station.